That, and there we go. We're now joined by national championship men's basketball coach Scott Drew. Baylor 9-4, along with Texas and Kansas. Coach, thanks for your time as always. So 0-3 to 9-4. I know you've got to go game by game. You can't look down the road, but we sure can, and fans can go, oh my goodness. Did you expect with 5 games left to be tied at the top of the conference standings at 0-3?
Well, I can promise one thing. It's a lot better 9-4 than 0-3.
No kidding.
But you know what? That's how you get to 9-4 is taking every game one at a time, one possession at a time. And as you know, in this Big 12, I mean, 9-4, 4-9 usually comes down to a couple possessions here or there.
Scott, your team is as deep as it's been, and you've got guys who have been, because of the early part of the season, what you had to do, that aren't playing much now, but in a pinch or in a situation can come in and give you really good minutes. I can't think of – I mean, you might be able to go 10 deep if you had to. Is this maybe the most guys you've had available with experience at any point during a year?
I think so, and partly that's a lot of schools are in the same situation because of the COVID year. I mean, everybody has a lot older guys, more experienced guys. When you look at scouting reports, it's really hard to find a lot of teams that have many freshmen on it. So everybody's more experienced, but it really helped us in the beginning of the year, giving a lot of guys minutes and opportunities. And now foul trouble, illness, injury, you can put people in that have been there, done it, and have the experience already.
You had Everyday Jon back now for a couple of weeks. How have you seen him continue to progress and just continue to knock some of that rust off and get back to it?
Well, definitely the game is slowing down a little bit for him, especially second half of the last game. You could see he got more comfortable, wasn't as rushed. But, again, we know it's going to take a couple weeks for our team to gel with him to get used to, get his legs back under him, get used to the game environment. So he's done a phenomenal job. The guys have done a great job in blending with him. And you see this so often in sports. You take a Nick Smith when he just came back for Arkansas. I think their first game he comes back, they lose at home to Mississippi State. Justin Moore comes back for Villanova, first game back, they lose it, I think, at home. I mean, it just takes time to get that rhythm, chemistry, and then, as you know, it's a team game. There's 5 guys out there. It's not just one. So each and every day we're getting more comfortable with him, and that's the great thing about when he came back. It gives us time to do that.
We discussed his long range, the threes that he hit when he came back, but I thought in the game against West Virginia – he showed that mid-range, that, 8 to 10 or 12-footer. Right now, his repertoire seems to be very, very impressive.
Yeah, well, you spend over 300 days just shooting. You add a lot to the game, and again, Jon lives at the gym, so he's always been good around the rim. He's been good at mid-range. Now his three, we feel very comfortable and confident with, but I mean, if he gets a good look from mid-range, I mean, you're surprised if he misses.
Did you, when he first started shooting threes, I mean, were you a little bit like, do you need to be doing that? Or, I mean, how was the initial reaction to him going out and trying to add that to his game?
Well, each and every year we want our guys to have their games grow and develop. And prior to his injury, he had shot some threes and was probably taking about one a game, one every other game. And then after the injury, as much as he worked on it, the last thing you want to do is limit someone who has gotten so efficient at it in practice. Now, it's always different in the game, and it's great to see the carryover in the game. But coaches, that's why we practice all the time or watch people in practice all the time, because if they're very similar to Jalen was making shots all preseason and then got off to a rough start, but you weren't as concerned from the standpoint he made them in practice, so you were comfortable and you knew that he could make shots and he was a shot maker. So same thing with Jon. I mean, if Jon gets an open look, sometimes you rush shots. Sometimes the best 3-point shooters miss 6 out of 10, so he's going to miss threes. But if he has a good look, get used to it going in, because we see that a lot.
Scott, you mentioned how you had to work on a few things. Obviously, you do when you don't win the first three, but you slowly but surely were trying to get better. Transition defense, you brought that up, a few other things. What now do you tweak that needs to get better? And I know you're always wanting better, even if it's pretty good.
Well, someone said this the other day. It was a couple days ago. St. Peter's was 12-11 at this point last year. North Carolina was on the bubble. So, like, you got to get better each and every day because it's the teams that finish in the end and getting on a hot streak at the end. Those are the ones that advance. And you even look at us. Remember, we had the big COVID pause in February, and it wasn't until after the Big 12 tournament where we really started to get back on a roll of things. So we got to get better in every facet. But in particular, I mean, we have the number one offense in the country, so it's hard to improve on number one. But people, each and every game will guard us different. West Virginia trapped the ball screen. That's something we hadn't worked on as much. A lot more people are switching 1 through 5. That's something we'll have to work on more. And then defensively, we've gotten better since the beginning of conference. We need to continue to get better at that. We need to continue to develop that chemistry with, like, 2 games ago, remember, Jon catches a short roll and then he throws an alley-oop to Jalen, and that's just not something that we practice a lot. So people get their and every day in practice, your chemistry improves, and we're able to put bigs with littles, and you work on breakdown stuff. So having Jon a part of that now should, and the big thing is just keep praying for no injuries, because if you can stay healthy, then you can keep that rhythm and chemistry growing.
How much does Jon being back help flow, just in general, of minutes and the amount he was having to play and matchups and everything, where you can maybe now do more or exactly what you want to do with Flo because Jon is there?
Well, I think what it does is it allows Flo to compete harder and know that if I make a careless foul or an over-aggressive foul, or I don't have to pace myself because he knows Jon can back him up, and vice versa. And to us, you look at positions, and like at the 5 spot, if it's Flo, if it's Jon, if it's Josh, I mean, we want that to be the most productive threesome or twosome in the country. So if you're playing 20, 25, 18 minutes, whatever it is, you can play a lot harder and a lot more aggressive. And at the end of the day, what you do per possession matters more than what you do over 30 or 40 minutes. If like rebounding, for instance, I mean, you should go for every rebound, because once you're tired, you can get a break. You know, where if you're playing extended minutes, there's going to be times where you might not be able to go, you know?
Scott, the turnaround from Saturday to Monday, can you try to explain that? Based on travel, obviously, that makes a difference too. But then the break after the Monday game, where you do have time to maybe rest legs and get more practices in, is that a good thing in the end, or is that just you never know?
Well, you try to get rhythms, routines, and for instance, we played several big Monday games, and if you're successful, the next time you tend to do more of that. If you were tired or weren't as successful, you cut back, you change, you tweak. So you always are constantly adjusting what you're doing, and also on how far the travel is and what it is. But like for us, it's when you have a chance to have 2 days to heal, and especially at this time of year, that's really important. Where if you're playing, so Saturday, Monday, that's really hard, but Tuesday and Wednesday you can recover, and Thursday and Friday gear up toward the next weekend. The name of the game right now is making sure in February that you're healthy, you're excited to play, you're rested, rather than worn down, beat down. They call it the dog days of February for a reason.
No question.
And that freshness, and that's where the crowd is so critical and so important too, because just like all of us, when you're a little tired at work, you need that jolt. Maybe it's for you Red Bull, maybe it's coffee for others, but that crowd, that's what that crowd gets.
You have a Saturday, Tuesday turnaround, both games in Kansas. If that would have been a Saturday, Monday, would you have stayed in the state of Kansas?
Actually, we are staying in the state.
Okay.
So
all right.
we are going to do that. And nowadays you have a lot more classes online, which allow that. And it's not something that we do normally. Normally it's Saturday, Monday you would stay, but in this situation we are going to stay up there. So we'll see how it works. And like I said, when each week you tend to adjust what you do based on how you play and how you perform. And when you're playing well, you keep doing the same thing. When you're a little off, then you adjust.
What have you seen differently from Kansas than a few weeks ago when you played them here?
They're similar to us. I think both of us are playing better basketball, and they're taking care of the ball. They're making shots. They just had back-to-back double-digit road wins, which is really hard to do in the Big 12. Their freshman big Ernest is really starting to give them valuable minutes and big minutes. They're switching more like they did against us. They're tending to do that more against everybody now. But hey, you go through ebbs and flows in the Big 12. Both of us went through 3-game losing streaks. Both of us are playing really good basketball right now, and you want to be peaking toward the end of the year rather than in the beginning.
Coach, when LJ Cryer's having a shooting night like he was the other night, do you have like a fire extinguisher on the sidelines to like cool off his shoes? Are they like smoking at that point with flames coming off? I mean, my goodness.
No, we're just trying to get him the ball. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, you did. Man, did you ever. You absolutely did. I know you get analytics and data and all that about what's also happening with rankings and ratings and all that, but you got to focus on who you're playing in your own conference. How much do you get to kind of digest what's happening elsewhere around the country in college basketball?
Actually, that's probably one of the worst things about coaching is you spend so much time on your own team, you don't get a chance to watch much of what's going on. So we all have 24 hours in the day, and we all have to prioritize how we spend them. I'd love to watch a lot of college games. Unfortunately, usually you're watching your team, you're prepping for your team, you're watching your team practices, you're trying to just get yourself better each and every day. So, I'll look at scores. I might watch highlights here or there, but you don't get a chance to watch a lot of other games. And that's the great thing about being in the best league in the country. Every time you watch a Big 12 game, you really learn, you really grow and improve because everybody runs such good stuff, does such good things. It constantly makes you evolve and stay on the cutting edge of things.
Scott, last thing, you've got an incredible staff. You always have had a staff. Some of them have been able to go on and head coaches at other positions, including Coach Tang again coming up Tuesday. But with what they do, can you try to explain how valuable each and every one of them, like they have their own roles, but they also have players or positions, and how that has helped keep this thing together when it was at dicey at 0-3?
Yeah, but head coaches are only as good as their players and only as good as their staff. And with us, we have a great staff. Many hands make light work. It's like you right now. If you're the only one at the station, it's probably not working. You got a team over there helping make sure everything's smooth, and you're bringing out the best in everything you do. And that's the same thing. Our coaches, they have different positional groups. They all have different responsibilities. At the same time, we all work together, and that's what you love about basketball. There's a million ways to play, coach, do things the way we do things as a family. Everybody contributes, and that's why when coaches leave and take head jobs other places, a lot of times they do a lot of what we do because they've invested, they've put into it, they're a part of it. It's not just my thing or Coach Tang's thing or Coach McCaslin or Coach Mills or Coach Driscoll or Coach Jacobs, Coach Brooks. It's all of us. We all have input. We're all humble. We all learn from one another, and that's how we get the best product.
Culture, the joy, a culture of joy. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your time. Good luck in Kansas. Saturday, KU. Tuesday, Kansas State. We appreciate your time as always.
Hey, I'm thinking you should just come on up there and spend a couple days. Bring that winter coat.
Is that an invitation? There we go.
You're always welcome in Kansas.
Thank you very much, buddy. That's Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach. I think